The stars had always called to humanity. For 50 years, they answered that call alongside the great species of the Galactic Council. Humans built friendships across the void. They shared their medicines, their technologies, and their hope. They believed in the promise of unity among the stars. Ambassador. Choi Hannah walked through the grand halls of the council capital with her head held high. The building was ancient, older than human civilization itself. Its walls were made of crystal that sang when light touched them. Representatives from 100 worlds gathered, here to decide the fate of trillions. But something felt wrong today. Hannah noticed the whispers. Delegates from the Vorn Collective stopped talking when she approached. The Mirathi representatives avoided her eyes. Even her old friend, Delegate Moran, seemed nervous and distant. When Hannah tried to speak with her, Miran shook her head slightly and walked away. "Something is happening," Hannah said quietly to her assistant. "Find out what." It's thousands of light years away. Admiral Kung Tai Wu stood on the bridge of the battleship. Eternal Dawn. His fleet of 30 vessels moved through the darkness of the frontier rim, that dangerous border region where the Hollow Empire lurked. Council ships flew alongside them, their sleek forms cutting through space like silver fish. "Admiral, we are approaching the coordinates for the new outpost," Captain Park Yuna reported. She was young but skilled, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Taiwu nodded. This mission was important. The Council had asked humanity to help establish a defensive position against possible Hollow Empire attacks. It was exactly the kind of work humans excelled at. They were builders, protectors. The galaxy had learned to rely on them. Again scanning for suitable locations, Taiwu ordered. The hours passed. Work began. Human engineers designed the outpost while Council ships maintained the perimeter. Everything seemed normal then. Without warning, the Council ships turned and jumped to faster than light speed. All of them. In seconds, Taiwu's fleet was alone. "What happened?" Yuna demanded, checking her instruments. "They just left." Taiwu felt cold dread in his stomach. He had survived many battles, but this felt different. This felt like betrayal. "Try to contact them," he ordered, "and reach Earth's command." The communications officer worked frantically. Her face grew pale. "Sir, all communication relays are jammed. We cannot reach anyone outside this sector. We are completely cut off." Back on the Council capital, Ambassador Choi Hannah received the news in the worst possible way. Armed guards burst into her quarters. They did not speak. They did not explain. They simply took her. She was brought before High Arbiter Vaughn, the leader of the Galactic Council. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and eyes like black stones. His voice was cold when he spoke. "Humanity is hereby expelled from the Galactic Council," Vaughn announced. "Your species has been found guilty of aggressive expansion, violation of territorial treaties, and conspiracy against member worlds. These are lies." Hannah shouted. "We have done nothing but help this council. The evidence has been reviewed. The decision is final." Vaughn waved his hand. "Take her to detention." Guards dragged her away. Hannah saw something terrible in the faces of the other council members. She saw relief. She saw satisfaction. And she understood. This was not justice. This was fear. Humanity had grown too fast, achieved too much. The council had decided to destroy them before they could become a threat. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. Human colonies woke to find themselves abandoned. Supply ships from council worlds never arrived. Trade agreements were canceled. Human citizens living on alien worlds were arrested or driven out. 50 years of friendship ended in a single day. On Earth, people watched the broadcasts in shock. Dr. Lee Minho stood in his laboratory on Mars, staring at the screen. He was a scientist, a man of logic and reason. But he could not understand this. Humanity had given everything to the Council. They'd asked for nothing but acceptance in return. "Why?" he whispered. "Why would they do this?" General Baek Joan knew why. He had served alongside Council forces for 20 years. He had seen how they looked at humans when they thought no one was watching. Fear. Always fear. "They were never our friends," Yuan said to his officers. "They used us. And now they think they can throw us away." He began organizing defenses immediately. If the Council wanted war, humanity would be ready. But the Council did not want war. They wanted something simpler. They wanted humanity to die slowly, quietly, forgotten in the darkness between stars. Without resources, without allies, without hope, humans would fade away. In 100 years, they would be nothing but a memory. In the frontier rim, Admiral Kang Taiwu gathered his crew. 30 ships, 15,000 souls. They were stranded in hostile space with limited supplies and no way home. The Hollow Empire's territory was close. Death surrounded them. His officers looked at him with desperate eyes. They wanted answers. They wanted hope. Taiwu thought about his family on Earth. His daughter, only 12 years old. Would he ever see her again? Would any of them see their homes again? He could give in to despair. Many would have. The situation was impossible, but Taiwu was human. And humans did not accept the impossible. "Listen to me," he said, his voice strong and steady. "The Council has betrayed us. They have stolen our future and left us here to die. They believe this is the end of humanity." He looked at each of his officers. Yuna, the engineers. The soldiers, good people, strong people. "They are wrong," Taiwu continued. "They think they have destroyed us. They have no idea what they have just created. We will survive. We will find our way home. And we will show the galaxy what happens when you betray humanity." The bridge was silent. Then, slowly, his crew straightened. Fear faded from their eyes. Something else took its place. Something hard. Something unbreakable. Captain Park Yuna smiled coldly. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Taiwu turned to face the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was waiting. His people were waiting. And the Council was celebrating, believing they had one. They would learn. They would all learn. "Let's plot a course through uncharted space," Taiwu ordered. "We are going home, and God help anyone who tries to stop us." The engines roared to life. 30 ships began their journey into the unknown. Behind them, the trap the Council had set sat empty. Ahead of them lay 3 years of struggle, danger, and darkness, but also ahead of them lay something the Council had never considered: survival, unity, and revenge. 3 years had passed since the betrayal. 3 years of hunger, 3 years of struggle, 3 years of silence from the stars that once welcomed humanity. The galaxy believed humans were dying. Council news broadcasts spoke of the human collapse as a finished thing. They showed images of abandoned colonies and empty stations. They congratulated themselves on solving the human problem without firing a single shot. They were wrong. On Mars, deep beneath the red soil, Dr. Lee Minho had not slept in 30 hours. His laboratory was cold and poorly lit. Resources were limited. Equipment was old, but none of that mattered. What mattered was the engine sitting on the table before him. "It works," he said softly. Then louder, "It works." His team gathered around. They were thin and tired, like all humans these days. Food was scarce. Luxuries were forgotten memories. But their eyes shone with excitement. The engine was small, no bigger than a human heart. But it could push a ship faster than anything the Council possessed. When the Council cut humanity off from their technology networks, they thought they were crippling human progress. Instead, they had set it free. Without their rules, without their limitations, Minho explained to his team, "We can think differently, build differently. This engine uses principles they said were impossible. But we proved them wrong. Across human space, similar breakthroughs were happening. Doctors developed new medicines. Engineers created stronger materials. Farmers grew food in conditions that should have killed every crop. Humanity was not dying. Humanity was evolving." Captain Park Yuna flew her small ship through the darkness of abandoned space. She had become a ghost, a shadow that moved where Council patrols could not follow. Her mission was simple: find resources, bring them home. Her crew of 12 trusted her with their lives. She had earned that trust 100 times over. "Captain, I am detecting a signal," her navigator reported. "It is coming from an old mining station. Council records say it was abandoned decades ago. Let's take a look, Una replied. The station was dark and cold when they boarded. Dust covered everything. But the storage rooms were full. Metal, fuel, medical supplies. Enough to support a colony for months. Why would the council leave all this behind? A young crewman asked. Una examined the station logs. The answer made her laugh bitterly. The station was in disputed territory. The council was too afraid to claim it. Too afraid of what might be hiding in the darkness. She shook her head. They fear everything. That is their weakness. We fear nothing. That is our strength. As they loaded supplies onto their ship, Una noticed something else. A message hidden in the station's old computers. It was written in a language she did not recognize, but the translation software slowly decoded it. We are the forgotten ones. We were betrayed, like you. If us. EEK allies, follow these coordinates. Una stared at the message for a long time. Then she copied the coordinates and deleted the original. Some discoveries were too important to share carelessly. On Earth, General Baek Juan trained his soldiers in the mountains of Korea. The old training grounds had been rebuilt, expanded, hardened against any attack. Young men and women pushed their bodies to the limit and then pushed further. The council believes humans are weak, Guan told his troops. They say we are fragile, short-lived, limited. They are wrong. Our bodies can adapt to any environment. Our minds can solve any problem. Our spirits cannot be broken. He had studied the council's military for decades. He knew their weaknesses. They relied too much on technology. They followed rigid rules. They could not improvise, could not adapt. Humans could, when the time comes. Giwan promised, we will show them what human soldiers can do. Meanwhile, in a cold cell on a distant world, Ambassador Choi Hannah counted the days. She had been imprisoned for 3 years now. Her captors believed she would break, would beg, would tell them everything about human defenses and plans. They did not understand her. They did not understand humans at all. Hannah exercised every day. She kept her mind sharp by reciting poetry, solving mathematical problems, planning for the future. She never stopped believing that freedom would come. And then, one night it did. The door to her cell opened silently. Delegate Moran stood in the doorway, wearing a dark cloak. Quickly, Moran whispered, "We have little time." Hannah did not hesitate. She followed Moran through dark corridors, past sleeping guards, into a small ship waiting on a hidden landing pad. "Why are you helping me?" Hannah asked as they flew away from the prison world. Moran was quiet for a long moment. Because what the council did was wrong? Because I was a coward when I should have spoken? Because... She paused. Because humanity deserved better than this. She handed Hannah a data chip. This contains everything. The real reasons for the betrayal, the council's secrets, their weaknesses. Take it to your people. Use it. Hannah held the chip tightly. Thank you. I will not forget this. I know, Miran said. Humans never forget. That is what the council fears most. Weeks later, Hannah arrived on Earth. The data she brought changed everything. Now humanity understood why they had been betrayed. The council had studied human growth rates, human adaptability, human potential. They had realized that in 2 centuries, humans had achieved what took other species thousands of years. At that rate, humanity would surpass everyone within a millennium. The council had not betrayed humanity out of justice. They had done it out of fear. Pure, simple fear. This knowledge spread through human space, and it did not bring despair. It brought determination. If the galaxy feared what humanity could become, then humanity would become exactly that, far away. In the frontier rim, Admiral Kong Tai-Wu finally saw familiar stars. 3 years of traveling through uncharted space, 3 years of rationing food, repairing damaged ships, burying friends who did not survive. But they had made it. Earth is ahead, Una reported. She had traveled far since her days as a simple captain. Now she commanded her own ship in Tai-Wu's fleet. We are home, Admiral. But Taiwu's fleet was larger than when it had left. 3 years in the wilderness had not just tested them, it had brought them allies. 3 species, abandoned by the Council long ago, had joined their cause. They were few in number, but fierce in spirit. "The Council thought they sent us to die," Taiwu said, looking at the blue dot of Earth growing larger in the view screen. "Instead, they sent us to grow, to learn, to find friends they forgot existed." He turned to his bridge crew. Humans and aliens stood side by side. 3 years ago, that would have been unthinkable. "Send a message to Earth Command," Taiwu ordered. "Tell them Admiral Kong Taiwu has returned. Tell them the Frontier Fleet is ready for orders. And tell them," he smiled, a cold and dangerous smile, "tell them we brought gifts." The dark years were ending. The years of fire were about to begin. And somewhere, in the comfortable halls of the Council capital, High Arbiter Vaughn continued to sleep peacefully. Believing his plan had worked, he would learn the truth soon enough. 7 years after the betrayal, the galaxy still believed humanity was a dying species. Council historians were already writing about them in the past tense. The humans were a promising but ultimately flawed species, they wrote. Their aggression and ambition led to their inevitable decline. The historians were fools. Deep in a region of space the Council had marked as empty, the Terran coalition grew stronger every day. It was not just humans anymore. The 3 species that Admiral Kung Taiwu had brought from the frontier rim had become true partners. Others had joined them since. Small groups, forgotten peoples. Species the Council had used and thrown away, just like they tried to do with humanity. They called themselves the Coalition of the Forgotten, and they were building something beautiful. On a hidden station orbiting a brown dwarf star, Dr. Lee Minho unveiled Project Phoenix to the Coalition leaders. The room was crowded with humans and aliens alike. 7 years of work had led to this moment. "When the Council cut us off," Minho explained, "they thought they were killing us slowly. They were wrong. They freed us from their limited thinking. They made us find our own path." Pressed a button. Holographic images filled the room. Ships, weapons, shields, medical technology, agricultural systems. Everything humanity had developed in secret. "Our new faster-than-light drives are 3 times faster than anything the Council has," Minho continued. "Our weapons can punch through their best armor. Our shields can take hits that would destroy their largest battleships." The alien delegates murmured in amazement. One of them, a tall creature with 4 arms, spoke up. "How is this possible? The Council has thousands of years of advancement. You have had only 7 years of isolation." Minho smiled. "That is the secret the Council never understood about humans. We do not advance despite pressure. We advance because of pressure. The harder you push us, the faster we grow. The more you take from us, the more we create. It is in our nature. We cannot help it." Admiral Kong Taiwu stood up. His hair had turned gray in the past 7 years. Lines marked his face, but his eyes were sharper than ever. "We are not building this to attack the Council," he said clearly. "We are building this to defend ourselves, to protect our allies, to ensure that what was done to us can never be done again." He paused, looking at each person in the room. "But we are also watching, and we have seen something the Council has not." Commodore Park Yuna stepped forward. She had risen far since her days as a simple captain. Now she commanded the Coalition's intelligence fleet, a ghost force that moved through Council space like shadows. "The Hollow Empire is mobilizing," Yuna reported. Images appeared on the screen. Massive war fleets, troop transports, planet-killing weapons. Our scouts have penetrated deeper into their territory than anyone in Council history. What we found is terrifying. She showed them footage of Hollow Empire shipyards producing warships at impossible rates, of conquered worlds being stripped of resources, of armies training for invasion. "Warlord Torak has united the Hollow Empire for the first time in centuries," Yuna explained. "He is building the largest invasion force the galaxy has ever seen. And he is aiming it directly at Council space." The room fell silent. Even the alien delegates, who had every reason to hate the Council, looked disturbed. "How long?" someone asked. 1 year, Yuna replied. maybe less. The Council has no idea what is coming. Their intelligence services are blind. Their military is weak. They have spent so long fighting political battles that they have forgotten how to fight real ones. General Beek Juan stood in the corner, arms crossed. He had trained a new generation of human soldiers, young men and women who had grown up during the betrayal years. They were harder than any generation before them, stronger, more determined. When the Hollow Empire attacks, Juan said, the Council will fall, maybe in weeks, maybe in months, but they will fall. Ambassador Choi Hannah, who had returned to leadership after her escape from prison, spoke next. And then they will come to us. They will beg for help. The same species they tried to destroy will be their only hope. The room was quiet as everyone considered this. 7 years ago, humanity had been betrayed, abandoned, left to die. Now they held the fate of their betrayers in their hands. Asked one of the alien delegates. Taiyu answered slowly, we prepare, we watch, we wait, and when the time comes, we will make a choice. Not based on revenge, not based on anger, based on who we want to be. The meeting ended. Leaders returned to their ships, their stations, their hidden worlds. The coalition continued its work in silence. On the council capital, High Arbiter Vaughn attended a celebration. It was the anniversary of humanity's expulsion. Delegates congratulated themselves on their wisdom. They drank expensive wine and laughed about the human threat they had eliminated. Delegate Moran watched from the shadows. She had stayed in the council to gather intelligence, to help humanity from within. Every day was dangerous. Every moment could mean discovery and death. She slipped away during the celebration and sent a coded message to Ambassador Choi Hannah. The council is blind, she wrote. They celebrate while death approaches. The Hollow Empire will strike within 1 year. The council is not prepared. They will come to you begging for help. What will humanity do? Hours later, a response arrived. It was from Hannah herself, who will make them understand the weight of their choices. Prepare yourself, old friend. The universe is about to change. Moran read the message twice. Then she deleted it and returned to the celebration. Wearing a mask of false joy like everyone else, in his quarters on the Coalition flagship, Admiral Kong Taiwu could not sleep. He stood at the window watching the stars drift past. Yuna found him there. She did not speak. She simply stood beside him, looking at the same stars. I used to love them, Taiwu said quietly. The stars. They seemed so full of promise, so full of wonder, and now? Yuna asked. Now I see them differently. I see opportunity. I see danger. I see the future we must build. He turned to look at her. Are we ready, Yuna? Are we truly ready for what is coming? Yuna thought about the question carefully. She thought about the ships they had built, the soldiers they had trained, the alliances they had forged. She thought about the darkness they had survived and the light they had found. Yes, she said finally. We are ready. We have always been ready. That is what makes us human. Taiwu nodded slowly. Then let the galaxy burn. We will be there to rebuild it. Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the wars of mortals. But change was coming. The silent empire humanity had built would not stay silent much longer, and when it finally spoke, the galaxy would listen. The invasion came like a storm from the darkest corner of space. Warlord Torik's fleets poured out of the Hollow Empire in numbers that made Council intelligence officers weep with fear. There were thousands of warships, millions of soldiers, weapons that could crack planets open like eggs. The first Council world to fall was a peaceful trading hub called Volantis. It had no military defenses. Why would it? The Council had promised eternal peace. Volantis burned for 3 days before the screaming stopped. More worlds followed. The Council's border defenses, weakened by centuries of budget cuts and political games, collapsed within hours. Admirals who had never seen real combat panicked and fled. Generals who had earned their ranks through family connections froze when faced with actual decisions. In 2 weeks, the Hollow Empire conquered more territory than anyone had thought possible. Billions of aliens became refugees. Ships fled toward the galactic core, clogging transit routes, fighting each other for fuel and food. High Arbiter Vaughn watched his empire crumble from the safety of his palace. He had not believed the warnings. He had dismissed the intelligence reports as exaggeration. Now the truth was burning across his view screens, and he could not look away. "How did this happen?" he demanded. "How did we not see this coming?" His advisors had no answers. They had spent so long worrying about imaginary threats about humanity, about internal politics, that they had ignored the real monster growing in the darkness. "We must call for help," one advisor said quietly. "We must contact the humans." Vaughn's face twisted with disgust. "Never. I would rather die than beg those primitives for assistance." But as more worlds fell, as the death toll rose into the hundreds of billions, Vaughn's pride began to crack. His military leaders told him the truth. Without help, the Council would cease to exist within 3 months. Everything they had built over thousands of years would be gone. Finally, with shaking hands, Vaughn authorized an envoy to Earth. Admiral Kong Tai-Wu received the Council delegation in a bare conference room. No decorations. No refreshments. No comfort of any kind. He wanted them to feel the coldness humanity had felt for 8 years. The lead envoy was a young diplomat who had not been involved in the betrayal. He seemed genuinely afraid, genuinely desperate. But Tai-Wu had learned that Council faces could lie. Galactic Council formally requests military assistance from the Terran Coalition. The envoy said, reading from a prepared statement. "In exchange, we offer stop," Tai-Wu said quietly. The envoy stopped. Tai-Wu stood slowly. He was not a tall man, but in that moment, he seemed to fill the room. "Do you know what happened 8 years ago?" he asked. "Do you know what your council did to my people?" The envoy swallowed hard. "I was not involved in those decisions. But you benefited from them. You built your career on human suffering. You slept well in your comfortable bed while human children starved on abandoned colonies." Tai-Wu's voice was soft, almost gentle. That made it more terrifying. "Now you come here begging for help? Do you understand how that feels?" Ambassador Choi Hannah entered the room. She walked past the envoy without acknowledging him and stood beside Tai-Wu. "I spent 3 years in your prison," she said. 3 years for crimes I did not commit. 3 years while my people suffered. Do you remember that?" The envoy had no words. What could he say? "We are not like you," Hannah continued. "We do not destroy species out of fear. We do not betray allies for political convenience. We are human. We are better than that." She paused, letting the words sink in. "So here's what will happen. We will not be your weapon. We will not fight and die to save a council that tried to kill us. But we will save innocent lives. Not for you. Despite you," Hannah laid out the terms. "Full restoration of all human territories. War crimes tribunals for council leaders responsible for the betrayal. Complete dissolution of the old galactic government and creation of a new, equal system." "These terms are non-negotiable," Hannah said. "Accept them, and we will help. Refuse them, and you will face Warlord Torak alone." The envoy transmitted the terms to council leadership. The answer came back within hours. Refused. The council still believed they could survive without human help. They still believed their own lies. 2 more core worlds fell that week. High Arbiter Vaughn was forced to flee his own capital as Hollow Empire forces approached. He escaped on a small ship, leaving billions of his citizens behind. Delegate Moran did not flee. She gathered as many refugees as she could fit in transport ships and set course for human space. She had made her choice. She would stand with the species the Council had wronged, not the leaders who had wronged them. When she arrived at Coalition territory, she expected to be treated with suspicion. Instead, human doctors rushed to help the refugees. Human workers provided food and shelter. Human soldiers protected them from the chaos of the collapsing galaxy. "Why are you helping us?" a young alien child asked a human nurse. "We are not your people." The nurse smiled gently. Everyone who needs help is our people. That is what being human means. Moran watched this scene and wept. She finally understood what the Council had failed to see. Humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their military. It was their heart. Their stubborn, unbreakable belief that kindness mattered, that justice mattered, that every life had value. The Council had tried to destroy that heart. They had failed. Warlord Torak sat on his command throne, watching the galaxy burn. He was massive, even by Hollow Empire standards, with scars covering his gray skin. He had conquered more territory in 2 months than any warlord in history. Soon, the entire galaxy would kneel before him. But something bothered him. The humans his intelligence officers had told him humanity was a broken species, barely surviving on the edges of known space. Yet his scouts reported strange things. Fleets appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Technologies that should not exist. Refugees speaking of human kindness and human strength. Torak decided to send a message to the entire galaxy. He broadcast it from the conquered Council capital, standing in the ruins of the Great Assembly Hall. The Council abandoned you, he declared. They promised protection and gave you nothing. Humanity could save you, but you betrayed them too. Now you belong to me. There is no hope. There is no rescue. There is only submission or death. On the Coalition flagship, Admiral Kung Tai-Wu watched the broadcast with his officers. When Torak finished speaking, the room was silent. Finally, Yuna spoke. He does not know about us. He has no idea what we have become. No, Tai-Wu agreed. He thinks we are weak, broken, dying. He looked at his officers, humans and aliens who had worked together for years, who had become family. He is about to learn how wrong he is. He stood and addressed not just his officers, but the entire coalition through an open channel. Warlord Torak says there is no hope. He is wrong. Warlord Torak says the galaxy belongs to him. He is wrong. The galaxy belongs to itself. Every species, every world, every life. And we are going to remind them of that. He turned to face the stars. Prepare the fleet. We are going to war. Cross-coalition space. Ships powered their engines. Soldiers checked their weapons. Scientists loaded their latest innovations onto transport vessels. After 8 years of silence, human empire was finally ready to speak, and its first word would be fire. The galaxy had forgotten what human fleets looked like. When the Terran coalition finally revealed itself, the universe held its breath. 300 warships emerged from hidden space, their hulls black as the void between stars. They moved with precision that seemed almost artistic, flowing into attack formations like water finding its path. Behind them came support vessels, medical ships, and transports carrying the tools of liberation. Admiral Park Yuna commanded the vanguard. She had waited 8 years for TH. This moment, 8 years of planning, building, and dreaming. Now, the dream was becoming reality. All ships, report status, she ordered calmly. Green lights appeared across her tactical display. Every vessel was ready. Every crew was prepared. Coalition fleet, Yuna announced. You know why we are here? Not for revenge. Not for glory. We are here because innocent people are suffering. We are here because someone has to stand up. We are here because that is who we are. Attack. The Coalition fleet struck the Hollow Empire's forward bases like lightning. Enemy commanders had no time to react. One moment they were celebrating their conquest. The next moment their stations were exploding around them. Dr. Lee Minho had given Yuna a gift, a device that could neutralize the Hollow. Empire's most terrible weapon. Torak's forces possessed bombs that could destroy entire planets, weapons that had made them unstoppable. But human science had found a way to silence them. One by one, those planet killers went dark. Their super weapons are offline, Minho reported from his laboratory ship. They cannot destroy any more worlds. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the battle unfold on their screens. They saw human ships dancing through enemy fire. They saw Hollow Empire vessels, seemingly invincible days ago, breaking apart under coalition attacks. They saw hope return to a universe that had forgotten what hope felt like. General Guan landed on the first occupied world with 10,000 soldiers at his back. The Hollow Empire garrison outnumbered them 3-1. It did not matter. Human soldiers moved through the alien streets with deadly efficiency. They had trained for this in the mountains of Earth, in the simulators of Mars, in the harsh conditions of coalition space. They were ready for anything, but Yuan had given his troops one absolute order: to protect civilians at all costs. When the battle ended, alien survivors emerged from their hiding places. They expected to find new conquerors, new masters. Instead, they found human medics treating their wounded, human engineers restoring their power systems, human soldiers sharing their own food with hungry children.
Hey, why are you doing this?
An elderly alien asked Guan, "We are not your people. Our government betrayed you." Guan looked at the old creature with gentle eyes. "You are not your government. You are just people. People who deserve to be free. That is enough reason." The news spread like fire. On world after world, populations that had given up hope began to resist. They fought back against their occupiers, knowing that help was coming. The great human fleet swept through the galaxy, liberating one system after another. Warlord Torak watched his empire crumble and felt something he had never felt before: fear. He gathered his remaining forces for a final stand above the fallen council capital. If he could destroy the human fleet here, he could still salvage his conquest. If he failed, everything was lost. Admiral Kong Taiwu knew this would be the final battle. He stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dawn, the same ship that had carried him through the betrayal, through the dark years, through everything. She was old now, scarred by 100 battles, but she was still flying, just like humanity. "Admiral, the enemy fleet is ahead," his tactical officer reported. "They outnumber us 2-1. Taiwu smiled. "Good, then it will be a fair fight." The Battle of the Fallen Capital lasted 18 hours. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. Ships burned like stars going supernova. Heroes died, and legends were born. Yuna led attack after attack against Torak's defensive lines. Her ship took damage that should have destroyed it twice over. She kept fighting. Coalition allies from a dozen species flew alongside human vessels. They had joined this cause not because they had to, but because they believed in it. They believed in humanity. Finally, Taiwu's flagship broke through to Torak's command vessel. The two ships faced each other across a field of debris and fire. "Open a channel," Taiwu ordered. Warlord Torak's face appeared on the screen. He was wounded, bleeding from a dozen cuts, but his eyes still burned with hatred. "Cannot win," Torak snarled. "Even if you destroy me, my empire will continue. War is eternal." "You are wrong," Taiwu replied. "War is not eternal. Peace is eternal. Kindness is eternal. The things you destroy, we will rebuild. The lives you take, we will honor. And the hatred you spread, we will heal. Leave." He paused, looking at the warlord with something that might have been pity. "Your time is over. The human dawn has arrived." The final assault lasted only minutes. Torak's flagship broke apart under concentrated fire. The warlord, who had nearly conquered the galaxy, died alone in the cold darkness of space, with their leader gone. The Hollow Empire shattered. Ships surrendered by the hundreds. Armies laid down their weapons. The war was over. Months later, Ambassador Choi Hanna stood before the newly formed Galactic Assembly. Representatives from every species filled the Great Hall, including many who had once looked down on humanity. High Arbiter Vaughn was not there. He had been captured by coalition forces and tried for his crimes. Humanity had not executed him. That would have been mercy. Instead, they exiled him to a forgotten moon. Alone with his failures for the rest of his days, Delegate Moran sat in the front row wearing the badge of a new government. She had helped build this assembly, working alongside humans to create something better than what had come before. Hannah looked out at the gathered representatives. 8 years ago, she had stood in a similar hall, believing she was among friends. She had been wrong then. She would not make that mistake again. We came to the stars with open hands, she began. We offered friendship, knowledge, and hope. You slapped those hands away. You tried to destroy us because you feared what we might become. The hall was silent. Many delegates could not meet her eyes. Now we return with open hands again. We offer friendship, knowledge, and hope. But this time, we also offer a warning. Hana's voice hardened. We will never forget. And neither will you. If anyone here believes that humanity can be betrayed again, that we can be abandoned again, they are wrong. We remember. We always remember, she paused, letting the words sink in. But we also forgive. That is who we are. We choose to build rather than destroy. We choose to heal rather than wound. We choose to hope rather than hate. That is the human way. She gestured to the assembly around her. This new galactic assembly will be different. Every species will have equal voice. Every world will have equal protection. No one will be forgotten. No one will be betrayed. We will build a galaxy that works for everyone, or we will build nothing at all. The hall erupted in applause. Some wept. Some cheered. Some simply sat in stunned silence. Realizing how badly they had misjudged the species they once called primitive, years passed. The galaxy healed. Human engineers helped rebuild destroyed worlds. Human doctors cured diseases that had plagued other species for centuries. Human teachers shared their knowledge freely, asking nothing in return. And on Earth's moon, a monument rose toward the stars. It bore the names of every human who had died during the betrayal years. Every soldier who had fallen in the Liberation War, every child who had starved on abandoned colonies at its base. An inscription was carved in 100 languages. Every diplomat who visited Earth made a pilgrimage to read it. Every alien child learned its words in school. They tried to bury us. They did not know we were seeds. Admiral Kong Taiwu visited the monument one last time before his death. He was old now, his body tired from a lifetime of service. But his eyes were peaceful. Captain Park Yuna now stood beside him. She had become the greatest military leader humanity had ever produced. But she still remembered the young pilot she had been, stranded in the frontier rim with nothing but hope. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked. "Forgiving them, I mean. After everything they did to us?" Taiwu was quiet for a long moment. He looked up at the stars, the same stars he had loved as a young man, had feared during the dark years, and had fought to protect for most of his life. "Yes," he said finally, "we did the right thing. Because that is who we are. Humans, stubborn, unbreakable, and in the end, kind." He smiled at the stars. They thought betraying us would be our end. They were wrong. It was our beginning. Above them, the galaxy turned in its eternal dance. Somewhere out there, human ships explored new frontiers. Human colonists built new homes. Human children dreamed of futures that would have seemed impossible to their ancestors. The betrayal had been meant to destroy humanity instead. It had set them free.